Welcome to another episode of It's a Long Beach Thing. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and like us on Facebook on It's a Long Beach Thing. We have a fantastic Facebook group that talks about everything we love about Long Beach. So it's a great community. So please get involved with that. We have a wonderful show for you today. We have my new friend, Angel Figueroa. Angel, how are you today?
Hey, good afternoon, Paul. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no problem. I met you, gosh, probably about a month or so ago at the Long Beach City College Foundation Board, and we had a
Yes,
great conversation. I found your energy very engaging, and I love the work that you're doing. So I'm like, I gotta get this guy on my podcast.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Problem. Well, let's dive in, shall we?
Absolutely, let's do it.
What's your association with this great city of Long Beach?
Well, besides living here my whole life, I went to Marshall Middle School. Actually, I started off at Signal Hill Elementary School. So I went to Signal Hill Elementary, did Marshall for a year, went out and did Hughes Middle School for seventh and eighth. Down to Poly High, for high school, and then after that, then that's where I moved out of Long Beach down to Pomona, where I did Cal Poly out there. So that was good. But yeah, just Long Beach all my life, really. I know Long Beach left and right. And then just about a little over a year ago, I ended up opening a business here in Long Beach as well.
Well,
Yeah.
we're definitely going to get into that, but let's dive back a little bit.
Yeah.
You said you went to Cal Poly. Was it Cal Poly Pomona? Is that where you went to
Yes,
school?
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went
And
down to Cal
so
Poly.
you went to Poly, and then at Cal Poly Pomona. Um, was there a interest in a study that you were looking to do at Cal Poly?
Yeah. So after graduating high school, I it was either between Long Beach or Cal Poly, but it ended up being a business degree and a business and accounting degree. So I went out to Cal Poly because they offered me I guess a better deal, a better package on going down to their university and enjoying besides the nice scenery, the academics aspect of it. So yeah, ultimately business and accounting is what I was out there doing.
Okay. And so you wanted to get into what type of field with business, or did you really not have an idea? You just enjoyed business type of work.
Yeah, I just enjoyed business really since I was a young boy. I always saw my father hustling and business deals and working with him. So every summer since I can remember, instead of going to summer school, I would tag along with my dad. And my dad worked with a lot of businessmen that owned whether it be a small house to a big huge hotel rooms up in PV, just anywhere down here in Southern California. So I tagged along with him, and I got to hang out with a lot of business people. Along with seeing my dad and making deals here left and right and selling. Because my dad's ultimately, I guess, a contractor. Um, so I just saw him making deals and building stuff. So that's where I wanted to go into, was that sector of making those deals and some form of business. And then accounting I thought was good because I enjoyed numbers. I enjoy the money. And I thought it was going to be pretty fun and easy for me since I enjoy both. I'm like, okay, well, everybody has to do their taxes at the end of the year, and I get paid for doing somebody else's taxes. So that worked out. So yeah, that's the field I went into. However, I'll tell you though, after the second year at Cal Poly, I took a break and I've yet to go back and actually finish my degree.
And that's quite fine. That's
Yeah.
actually quite fine. You do it if you
Yeah.
want to. You don't do it
Yeah.
if you don't want to.
Yeah. I'm actually talking with Cal State Long Beach now because I want to go back and actually finish my degree. I'm not doing, down at Poly anymore. So I'll be down here at Cal State Long Beach to make that happen. But, after a few years, working and so on and so forth. I know I was teaching karate at the time as well of going to Cal Poly. So that's really where I guess that conflicted. I really enjoyed my current job while I was at studying. So that sort of moved me out of that mindset of I want to complete my college degree and so on. So yeah. So now it's time to go back though. I want to go back.
And I think that's great. You know, and it may be for you, it might not be for others, but college is not for everybody. It's really not. And you
Yeah.
can be successful all you want without college. You don't need college if that's not your thing. If you like college, go for it. I
Yep.
find your passion, go after your passion, whatever that is, and listen to that. Not worry about, oh, you know, you got to go to school and got to get X,
Yes.
Y, and Z, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there that did not finish college or didn't go to college, and a lot of them don't have the college debt, so they were able to start their own businesses because they didn't have the debt that they had behind them. And not to say that people who went to college can't be entrepreneurs, because there are plenty of them too. It's just
Yeah.
it's a different path for everybody. So I think
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. You know, for me it was just too much, right? So my college years was just it was fun and everything. I enjoyed it, but after those 2 years of just working, studying, school, work, study, school, and so on and so forth, it was a little too heavy. I was also a bit, and I guess maybe worked out, so to speak, in my the education side of it because I always did great in school. I was always that good kid in school and so on. So after the second year, I was just tired. I was exhausted, right? So college then wasn't a thing for me, and which was totally fine because I enjoyed what I was doing and I was having fun doing it. I was making money and I was moving forward. Um and now I own my own business and we're doing well and still without a college degree. So I agree, college isn't for everybody, and you can be very successful without actually having a college degree.
Absolutely. Well, I want to go back a little ways. It sounds like your father is an entrepreneur, right? It sounds like he owns his own contracting and construction business. So that
Yeah.
probably started that feel of running your own business, and you, as you say, the hustle of it that
Yes.
you enjoy, that your father, because that type of work, I know plenty of people in that type of work, and those people, they get up at the crack of dawn and they're nonstop. You know what?
Yeah.
Whether they're sick or not, whatever, they get up
Yes.
3 in the morning, 4 in the morning,
Yes.
whatever it takes. They
Yeah.
get the job done, and they get paid, and a lot of them get paid very, very well for their
Yeah.
services, but they put in the
Correct.
work to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Correct. Going back there is it's my dad's definitely that person that will. He'll remodel a whole house, and then every room that he does, he'll step back and look at it 100 different ways and just admire his work because he takes pride in his work. So he really admires his job, and he'll be the one to come over and say, "Hey, come here, come here, come here, look at this," and you'll look at the exact same wall 5, 7 times until he's happy with it, right? And he's made sure that you saw it 10 times to make sure that you liked it, right? So growing up, I saw that. I saw him building things and making deals and so on. And then another big thing with my dad was that on the weekends when he didn't work, he was never the one to just sit. He could not just sit at home and do nothing, right? So on the weekends, he actually had a vendor spot at a swap meet, at a local swap meet, where every Saturday, Sunday, he would go sell things, whether it be a bicycle that he grabbed for $20, he'd out there and sell it, or if it was paint or whatever, he couldn't just stay home and relax. He had to keep going. So I don't know. Gosh, I was a little boy when we started doing that too. So that's
What
where
swap meet was it?
another mm, Vineland in City of Commerce, I think.
Okay.
Vineland, yeah. We did Vineland for many, many years. And he would take me every single Saturday, Sunday as well. I hated it. Let me tell you, you wake up early in the morning, you go to school as a little kid, you come home, you do your studies. For me, then after my studies was martial arts, was karate till 7 p.m. Come back, continue homework, whatever, and repeat. So then on Saturdays, Sundays, I look forward to just relaxing. No, it was let's go to the swap meet. Let's go sell some stuff. And I'm like, okay. And I absolutely hate it. Now, 30 years, now I'm 33 now, and I'm just like, if there was one thing that I look back and I go, "God dang, it's so nice that he made me do this," was actually learn to speak to others and sell them a product that, in all fairness and honesty, they don't need. It's like, here's another bike. Well, I have two of them hanging at home, but you need this one. And here's why. So I learned how to do that by selling all sorts of things at the swap meet early in the mornings, every Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, and up to this point, he still sells at the swap meet, and I go every
Oh,
now
really?
and
I would
then.
have thought
Just
he
yeah,
goes online now.
yeah. No, no, he still goes. He enjoys I think he goes not to sell. I think he just enjoys the vibe of people walking and music playing. And it's just because he can't just stay home and relax. He just doesn't do that, right? So I can though. I'm good at that. I can stay home and relax. It's not a problem. But yeah, so like you said though, he would wake up early in the morning and go to work and so on. And I did that throughout the summers, every single summer.
I love that.
Yeah.
Let's change gears a second because you mentioned slightly about martial arts, and I know that's
Mhm.
what you do now and with your
Correct.
business, and we'll really dive into that. But where did that start? Where did that start of love of martial arts start for you?
7 years old. So I started karate when I was 7. My dad just showed, he put both my sister and myself in the truck, drove us to a karate studio. We got out, checked it out, and we just ultimately never left. Right? We just it stayed there, and it was one thing that A, we enjoyed. B, he knew the benefits of self-defense and making sure that you're able to protect yourself when needed. So we just did karate our whole life, really. And then maybe how old? Maybe a few years in, I don't remember how old, but a few years in karate, I think I was around green belt level, which is a little close to the end there, right? So you got a green, you got brown, you got black. So almost done. I decided, or my sister and I both decided we're gonna quit. My dad gave us a week, 2 weeks off, and then afterwards he's like, "So what, you guys aren't going back?" And we're like, "No, we don't want to." He looked at us, laughed, and shoved us in the truck and took us straight back to karate. And there it is. Years later, I turned 15, 16, I think is when I got my black belt. But I just always enjoyed it. I always enjoyed being able to um, just have fun with others there, and play and have fun and learn karate. And then I ended up enjoying being able to, I guess not, I don't know how to put it so it doesn't sound bad, but I enjoyed hitting and fighting as well, right? So that was always fun for me too. Was obviously I got my butt kicked plenty of times, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the sparring. I enjoyed the karate aspect of it. So that was fun, and we just never stopped. Yeah.
So, tell me if when you were young, you had the green belt. What made you think, okay, I don't want to do this anymore? What was going through your head?
Sheesh. Years of Monday through Saturday, sometimes Monday through Sundays of karate, just like in school, it's Monday through Saturday. So we'd go to karate, even if it was just 1, maybe 2 hours a week. But when you do it enough, for me, it was just like, I'm tired of having to do this over and over and over again. But my dad saw the benefits, my parents saw the benefits of it. So it's like he didn't care. So we just kept going. And then ultimately we filed back on some days so that it wouldn't be too much. So that was good. But I think that it got to a point where it's just like, okay, I'm tired. I'm done. It wasn't ever boring. That wasn't it. You're always learning something cool, something fun. Um, and even up to now, 25 years into karate myself, I'm still learning.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So yeah. So now it's the learning aspect of it. Yeah.
So when you were 7, I know it's a few years back now, but when you were 7, was it your idea to want to do karate? Because at that age, a lot of kids like, karate.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
age where you start to like it. Or was it more your dad's idea? Go, you know what? You need the discipline. I need you. We're going to take you there.
Yeah, no, it was my dad. It was definitely my dad. I remember we were playing soccer time, or the schedule changed. We couldn't do soccer anymore. So my dad just needed us to be busy, right? One thing that he knew growing up was that a child needs to be busy, stay out of trouble. When the child's sitting
I
around,
agree with that.
lounging around all the time, that's when they're thinking of X, Y, and Z, things that maybe they shouldn't be thinking of, right? So when you give a child some structure and you tell them that their day is busy, it's better for them. It's absolutely better for them. So it was my dad's idea. And then we just grew to love it as well.
Mm. And
Yeah.
did your sister do it all through the same time
Yeah.
you did as well?
Yeah, the whole time. Yeah. So we've been going at it for about 25 years worth of karate.
So she has
Yeah,
her black belt as well.
correct. Yes, sir.
Unbelievable. Oh, I think
Yeah,
that's great. So
yeah. My
you
wife
were
too.
at Cal Poly. You did it for 2 years, but it sounded like you had a business endeavor that was taking up a lot of your time, and you had to make a decision. Well, do I continue on with school, or do I really dive into this business adventure that you had? So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, while I was doing, up in Cal Poly, I was also because I commuted daily, right? So I went to school early in the morning. I'd get up 6 in the morning, be on the road by 7, and then be in class by 8:45, right? And then be done with school around 2:30, and then be down in Long Beach to work by 3:30, I think, 4. Somewhere along those lines then. And then it was just work till 8, 9 p.m. And then afterwards I would just want to hang out and learn some more or work out with my buddies or whatever there. So we're talking 10 p.m. sometimes, at the studio, and then have to go home, shower, do homework and XYZ, and then go back to school early in the morning. Um, so it just got to be a little too much for me. And I decided, if I'm working, I'm already working, I'm really enjoying it. And then by 16, so when I got my black belt at 16, I started teaching. That's when I really started to teach. So by 18, which is where my first year of college, 19, 20 or whatever, second year of college, I'm still teaching at that time. I really just enjoy teaching a lot more, giving back what was given to me as a little kid. Now I got to do it with a whole bunch of 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, and so on and so forth. So now it's I see 18, 20-year-olds that I used to teach when they were 4 or 5 years old. It's pretty cool, right? So it was one of the two for me. I'm like, I either continue teaching karate and making a living out of it, or I go to school. And I opted on what was more fun at that time, was teaching.
So then you went into full-time teaching mode at that
Yeah.
point. So
Yeah.
then you just take
Mhm.
out the school, and then you just started adding classes throughout the day. Is that how that went down?
Yeah, yeah, ultimately, yeah, you end up teaching more because there's also like morning classes that you can do. So think I was maybe 19. I think by 19 they offered me the ability, at the place where I was working, teaching there. They offered me the ability to go actually be like the person in charge of starting that location, right? And I didn't feel like I was ready, right? I didn't feel like I was ready for that responsibility. I could teach classes, not a problem, but to run it and be the person in charge, I didn't feel like I was ready yet, right? So, um, and that's what full time meant. It meant you're doing that, and it didn't. I didn't want to do that. I just wasn't ready. I didn't think I was mature enough, responsible enough to take upon a whole business, even if it wasn't mine, but to take upon it and run it, right? Yeah. So it did become a full-time job until I took a little break. I think I was 21. Yeah, like 21, I think, from actually teaching. I took a break for about maybe 2, 3 years, and I think that happened because I wasn't ready, I didn't feel responsible enough to do it, so I backed off.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And what did you do during that time, that 2 or 3 year period?
I hustled. I hustled. I enjoyed it. Using all the skill sets that I learned as a little kid.
When you say hustle, what does that mean? Because that means a lot to a lot of people.
So I sold and bought a lot of vehicles. I did that. I was able to buy a car. To use simple numbers, buy a car for 1,000, sell it for 2,000. And I just flipped the vehicles like that. I would
You knew how to take
find
care of
good.
cars then too, then obviously.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm also mechanically inclined. So sometimes when the car wasn't working or something, I pick it up, fix it myself, and then sell that. Bicycles was a huge part of my growing up too. So I actually have bicycles all around the world that I would find here locally, fix up, build up, and then sell across the pond. So I literally have bicycles in Australia, out in England, out in Thailand, that built bicycles that I built, right? So that was my hustle too. My main hustle was either selling vehicles and selling bicycles, right? And then I ended up actually selling a truck to a gentleman out in, I think it was New England. I had a truck here that I found here. It was decent price. I put it together, fixed it up, and then some gentleman out in New England reached out to me and said I want it. I drove it, he paid me, and I drove it straight into a shipyard, something like that. Delivered it there, and never saw that vehicle again. So that was my hustle, just finding X and then selling it for Z.
So you did that for a few years. Then
Yeah.
what happened after that?
After that, I went back to teaching. I went back to that karate studio where I went back to teaching, and that was when I was like 23, 24, something like that. And went back full time. So then I worked mornings and I worked in the afternoons. I opened, I closed. I ultimately, it took a few years, but then I ultimately became the person in charge of that karate studio completely. Where the bosses or my bosses, my instructors were, they had the ability to travel the world while I ran their karate studio, which is totally cool. It gave me a sense of one day I'll be able to travel the world while somebody else runs my studio, right? So yeah, that was fun. But yeah, so I learned how to run somebody else's business. And I ended up doing that for quite a few years until I decided that it was time to open my own.
So I want to dive into before you started your own business of running this what do you call, is it a studio or dojo or
Studio, yeah, karate studio, dojo, it doesn't
studio?
matter.
Okay,
Either one works, yeah.
the studio, right? Because there's a different aspect of it where you're teaching karate to where you're actually doing business and having to deal with different personalities. Because I would imagine, because you're running the studio, there was a lot of classes that you couldn't physically teach. You needed instructors to do that. And I feel
Correct.
like there's a lot of personalities that happen doing that where you kind of have to play HR in a way, right?
Yes.
Because it's just you playing HR,
Yes.
doing all the stuff, making sure that the books are in the black. Talk about that. Talk about the learning
Yeah.
curve there.
Yeah, absolutely. So business wise, besides the karate, I was teaching a lot less because I was running somebody else's studio. So on the business side of things, I was um, ultimately it was my job to be able to bring in clientele, so students into the studio, and then do my absolute best to retain them and keep them, right. Which the retention aspect happens on the mat, which means that you got to have a solid team that is engaging so that the student wants to continue after X period of a trial or whatever, so on my side though, it was talking to the parents, making sure the parents were happy, because as you know, in a business, if you keep the parents happy, they're happy with whatever service you're providing them, right? So it was my job to go and, chit chat and say hello and shake hands. It was my job to, reach out, phone calls and emails and text messages and that side of things where, anyone had a question or a concern or whatever, they'd call in, and we'd talk about that. So that side, I learned how to do that. And so I learned how to speak to the doctor that had their child there, but I also learned how to speak to the janitor that cleans out of school, right? But I learned how to speak to both of them exactly the same, right? Neither or was better than the other, right? So learning to do that was pretty cool, right? Learning to speak to someone not without it mattering who they are as a person or what they do was really cool, so I had a good I had good relationships with at least I tried to have good relationships with every single one of our clients, right. We grew as that team, we grew that studio to about on a little over 500 students
Wow.
within that time, and I could give you every student's name except their parents. I wouldn't be able to give you that, but like every student name I pretty much knew, and that's the business side that you have to do, because you have to take pride in your work, right? And pride meaning you have to know who your students are. Like, what's that kid's name? What's that one's name? And so on and so forth. So, because you need to care, right? You need to show that you actually care for the people there. So that's a big thing. I think in the service of karate, a big deal is actually showing that you actually care about the people there. And it's not just another student that comes in that's going to cake for a few months and then leave, You know, the goal is to have students come in and stay there for years and earn their black belt and so on, you know, for their own, you know, for their own safety and so on. But yeah, so I learned how to do that. Phone calls, emails, calls. I would set up we would have like big, huge picnics where we had lots of people come in. So I would set that up. Um, I set up tournaments and get all the help that was necessary. Just everything besides being on the mat and teaching, I was doing. Aside from the books, you know, that was my boss's thing. There was he did the books. They did the books, and I just we communicated on the daily. You know, how's this? What's going on? What do we do now? X, Y, and Z.
Hmm. Well, amazing.
Yeah.
So you got to the point where, man, I mean, you've grown this. Was it just one studio, by the way, or was it a couple studios by this time? 500.
That time, there's a few studios now. There's a few karate studios there that the owners were able to go ahead and put out. But I was the one in charge of the largest one because we had over 500 students. It was 2 stories.
So
So
there's
I was
500 in
running.
one studio. You're
Yeah, it was
one
500
studio.
students in
Okay.
one studio. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
I'm running up and down those stairs, you know, making sure that everything's getting handled, everything's taken care of. Yeah, yeah.
So then you've been how long how long were you in that process? How long did you do that type of work?
I want to say at least 5 years
Five
that I
years.
was. Yeah, yeah. So coming back 24. So I came back around that 23, 24 year age, and then I ran it. I feel like it was at least 5 years. Um, and then I ran it for at least that time, and then around I think I was 30 is when my wife was pregnant with our first. And
Ah.
that's where a lot of other things change there, well, you know, perspectives changes and life changes when there's a child on the way then.
Now, let me ask you this question. I mean, it sounds like with what you were doing, you had to put a lot of hours in. And
Yeah.
this wasn't, it sounds like this was not just a 40-hour work week for you. It sounds like it was closer to 60 or 50 to
Yeah,
60.
so yeah, definitely sometimes it could be an all day thing for sure. You know, there was its days where it wasn't, you know, a very long day, but then there's days where it's definitely a very long day. During summer with summer camps and stuff like that, those were full on, you know, I get there 7, 8 in the morning and you don't leave till 8, 9, 10 at night getting things ready throughout the summers. And we're talking, you know, 10, 9, 8 weeks of just summer full on, full throttle on the daily. And I did that on the daily. So yeah, sometimes it was very, very long, long weeks for sure.
Okay, so at this point in time, with you expecting a child, I'm sure when it was just you and your wife, you guys would make it happen. You know, you had to do your hustle, and you guys would see, make time for each other. But I'm sure there it was a little bit more relaxed. So was there a thought in your head like, oh, I'm going to be a dad. I want to be there and more often. Was that the shift that happened with you?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a big shift. You know, my wife tells me, okay, she's pregnant, and I'm going, wow, amazing, right? So I'm ecstatic, I'm happy, right? But then immediately, immediately I felt, you know, we as a man, I cannot provide now for a family, so to speak, with my current, yeah, yeah, with what I was doing, you know, currently there, you know, or the or that salary that I was making there was just not going to be sufficient, especially here in California. You and I both know California is very, very expensive.
Yeah.
So, you know, with that salary, it worked out okay for just me. It was a little less okay with a wife, but then, you know, bringing another human being into this world, it's like, all right, that something needs to change drastically if you know, because I want to be able to be there for my little one, right? So then my little one was born. And I actually ended up working even more the first year of her birth, right? Because I there was a point where there was a possibility of me being able to buy the studio that I was running. So I thought, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. Let me give me a go at it, give me a shot. So I worked even more so that very first year of her being born. And then it just didn't work out, you know, for X reason, it just didn't work out. And I ended up deciding, no, okay, not a problem. Um, and I just went my own route, because it just needed to change, right? It just wasn't going to be enough as a family of three anymore.
Well, we'll talk about that for a second. So you're in this situation where you're thinking you're going to buy a studio. That doesn't work out. You have a wife and you have a kid. Now the kid is there.
Yeah,
Um, you need income. So,
correct.
but you, because of your background and as you say, hustling with from
Yeah,
your dad giving you those tools, you
yeah.
said, "Well, you know what? I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to start my own business." Is that how it went down?
Yeah, ultimately, yeah, it was sort of one slight thing in between there, but yeah, ultimately, so I ended up quitting. I said, thank you, I appreciate it, I appreciate everything, but I'm gonna be doing my own thing. So I actually was moving into the law enforcement scene. I wanted to be a sheriff. I don't want to be a police officer. I wanted to actually be a sheriff. I have quite a few law enforcement friends, and they all like pushed me along and wanted me to be part of the crew, I guess. And I wanted to do it. It was a way that I wanted to give back. I gave back to the community for many years as an instructor, a martial arts teacher. Now I felt like it was my now goal was to give back to my community as a law enforcement personnel. And the incentive of working for the state of California, not bad at all, right? When I'm comparing salaries, it's like double. Huh. Yeah, that sounds like it's definitely more doable to raise a family with double the income. Um, and I also didn't want my wife working. It was I would rather her take care of the little one. And she was totally fine with that too. She liked that as well because she's also always been a strong worker herself. But if I could just be the sole provider so that she can take care of my little one, it just, and it worked out that way, right? And quite frankly, I know a lot of people that work a full-time job to pay daycare. And they literally work a full-time job to pay daycare, which makes no sense to me because then if you just stop working, you don't have to pay daycare. You're already just
Exactly.
living off one income, right? So and again, not everyone's thing is the same, but to me it seems that way that one person works to just pay the daycare. No, thank you. Stay home. Stay home. Raise your child so that nobody else is raising your child.
Mm.
Right. So while I
One
was doing,
caveat to that, though, I hear what you're saying, and it makes total sense. But there's people out there that love their children. They love their children, but they have to have other things that they're going on.
yeah,
They love what they do for work. So
yes,
I
yes,
understand if they want to pay for daycare because they love
correct.
their job. I
To
mean,
pursue a
I
career.
totally get that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. That's just my opinion, but there is, like you said, someone's pursuing their career and whatever field it is. I get it too. They do their thing, make it work. And a lot of people do, which is great, but for us, it was, let me, my wife and I spoke about it and like, let me be the sole provider and we'll get ahead and you get to, be able to hang out with our daughter. Um, so within that time, be doing law enforcement stuff. That was going well. Um, but at the same time, I'm hustling because I don't have a job, which was totally fine. I'm like, that's fine. We'll make do. Um, and within that time, however, I had a mom reach out to me who had been reaching out to me for at least 3, 4 months. I actually talked to her not too long ago. She was like, "You remember when I chased you down for like 6 months?" I was like, "It was not 6 months." She was like, "No, yeah, it was about 6 months that I asked you to teach my son, because her son is I think 14 at that time, 15, and has autism, right?" So she brought him into the studio a few months ago, and it didn't work out for whatever reason. We couldn't have him in an actual class or a large class at the karate studio. So anyway, so she ended up reaching out to me while I was in the middle of the law enforcement stuff. And I said, yeah, sure, let me go ahead and help you out and just teach him some karate, and that was just out of just for fun for me, to be able to help somebody else. Um, until she then, she well, going back to your thing is what was it? I quit, I do my own thing for that time. I'm moving into law enforcement before I go to open this business up that I did. And then I guess we can get into that story if you'd like.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me that story, please.
So within that law enforcement time that I was doing, this mom reaches out to me and says, "Please teach my son." And I finally agree. And then, he's autistic, so he can't be in like a big group setting, doesn't work out for him. So I ended up teaching him one-on-one lessons. She then says, "Hey, let me go ahead and pay you." And I said, "No, no need to pay me. It's perfectly fine." No, I need to pay you, she says. I'm like, "No, you don't. It's fine. I don't need the money. We'll be okay." She said, "What you don't understand is if I don't pay you, I don't get funding for my son to do activities." And I go, "What are you talking about?" So that opened a whole new scene for me that I had no idea of, which is funny because I have a little sister with Down syndrome who I don't think we ever got funding for her for anything. My parents just paid everything out of pocket. But uh, so this student now that I'm working with is needs to pay me because the mom gets funding through an agency or whatever to do something. Which then I ended up, grabbing an LLC, so that they can go ahead and put some funds in my bank account, and that sort of just started snowballing, where she then told another mom, and another mom told the dad, and then the dad told another mom, and the dad, so on and so forth. Before I knew it, we're, one student, two students, 5, 10, 20, 30 students in. And I remember coming home one day and I was telling my wife, I'm like, and these are all just private lessons, right? And I'm seeing people at their houses, I'm seeing people at the park, and so on. And then it got to a point where I get home one day and I tell my wife, I'm like, well, and this is 2022. Are we in 24 or 23?
We're
I
at
think this is
24 now.
2023.
Going to be
Okay.
25 in a few months.
So 2023, we're talking April, June, June, May. I'm thinking late April, sometime in May. I think I get home and I tell my wife, I'm like, I think we just sort of tripped into a business here. And I'm still doing my law enforcement stuff. I'm taking tests, I'm running physicals and so on and so forth. Um, and I tell them like, I think we just sort of tripped into a business, and we got to do either or. I can't now do both. I have to focus on one, right? So I then put all the law enforcement stuff off to the side, and then I was like, all right, let's go and do this full throttle with teaching karate again, but for my own thing. And then because that child, that the mother's child's autistic, then I'm teaching a whole bunch of other autistic students. I'm teaching students with physical disabilities. I think you know who Kim Bong is. Started teaching her, karate, and she's got CP. And then Kim shows me this other friend, and so on and so forth. So it spiraled out of control there with me teaching all these neurodivergent students and students with some form of physical disability or inabilities. Students that are nonverbal, and so on. So then I remember coming home and going, you know what? I promise you, by the end of the year, we'll have a karate studio. And she goes, how? I'm like, I don't know. Well, we'll figure it out. So we'll make it happen. Well, a month after that conversation, I'm getting keys to a location, a physical location. That was literally a month after having that conversation with my wife, of telling her that we're going to have a physical location. And a month later, July of 23, we have keys to this location here at the Parker Center in Long Beach.
So you manifested it. You
Yeah,
manifested it into
yeah,
reality.
yeah, yeah. It's the law of attraction. It's a real thing. It's the law of attraction. You put things out there, the universe does listen and it provides. Obviously, you can't just sit on your butt and expect to just show up on your doorstep like Amazon does, right? And even then, you got to click a few buttons for things to show up from Amazon. But you manifest that, you throw that energy out there, and it will reply, it will respond. So yeah, I manifested it, and we made it happen. We got keys in July of last year, and it's been nonstop since then.
So first, I don't think you said the name of the business. I love the name of the business. Tell everybody the
Oh,
name of the business.
yeah. So it's a Mixed Miracle Arts. My wife and sister came up with that. Yeah, Mixed Miracle Arts. So instead of mixed martial arts, we put a miracle in there instead of the martial aspect of it, because it just worked out that way. It was very easy. It's mixed miracles, because my little sister was a full-on miracle. She's 18, Down syndrome now. Almost didn't make it. She was 6 months when she had open heart surgery. And then she spent about 3 or 4 months in the hospital after that surgery, where she literally, my parents were told that it was up to her and God if she was going to want to hang out with us or not. So, and then a lot of our students are miracle kids, like literally miracle kids. One of our instructors there, Mr. Mariano, he is a miracle kid himself, because it took quite a few years for him to actually be on this planet. Of his parents trying for many years before they were able to have a child themselves. So the mixed miracle aspect of it is because there's a mixed variety of our students, and we're all miracles in one way or another. We're here shaping futures and changing lives, and throughout Long Beach to start with, at least. But yeah, it was mixed miracle arts. Mhm.
I love that. And I would imagine with the various kids that you have in your program, you have different programs for different groups of kids, I would imagine. Correct?
Yeah, yeah. So super different to your traditional karate studio, Paul. It's a traditional karate studio, you want as many students as you possibly can, right? The more students you have, the better, obviously,
Mhm.
business wise. Secondly, you're able to provide a great business for a lot of students, meaning a lot of students are gaining, the confidence, the ability to defend themselves, and et cetera, everything that comes along with karate. But for us, because we're working with such a different community, that in a traditional karate studio, you can have a class of 20, 30 kids, and you tell them, all right, go ahead and bust out 10 push-ups, and they all will drop down, do 10 push-ups. All right, good. Get wrapped back up. Let's do 20 jumping jacks, and everybody will do 20 jumping jacks, no questions asked, and on point. Our students, however, sometimes with a physical disability or a neurodivergent disability, you go, hey, do 10. Matter of fact, quick story. I have a student who's 37. He's amazing. And I say, hey, go ahead, give me 5 push-ups. He goes, no, I'm good, my guy. You do it. I go, excuse me? No, that's not how it works out. I'm the teacher. I'm teaching you. Drop down and do 5 push-ups. He goes, no, I'm good. In a traditional karate studio, you go, that just doesn't fly, right? At our studio, I just started laughing. I'm just like, goodness gracious, if we were in a traditional karate studio, you'd be in trouble. A, you don't question what I ask you to do. B, you don't go, my guy. It's yes, sir, no, sir. Okay, I'm not your guy. Okay. But see, in our studio, it just became it's very personalized to
How old
each
was the kid again?
individual. He's 37 autistic.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I said kid, but he's not a kid anymore, but
Okay.
he's 37 years old. But again, it's just an example, because I have students who, we start them off at 3 years old. We have little ones, that are on the neurodivergent spectrum or whatever. I've got people in wheelchairs and so on. So every one of our students is their class is tailored a lot more just for them, very unique was, right? So again, traditional karate, you got a class of 20, 30 kids to a class, right? I've taught those classes that are ginormous. We have classes of up to 5 students per one instructor, classes of 3, small classes, so that we can accommodate as much as possible, be able to give them as much as we can of us, right? On top of that, now we're also talking, you go to a karate studio where a traditional class is 40, maybe 45 minutes long, right? You get up in an advanced class, maybe an hour. Or our students, most of them at minute 12, they're like, all right, I'm so done. I'm like done with you. Can I go home? Oh, come on, just a little bit more. Man. Just give me a little bit more, right? Because there's I feel like their filter is different, super different than ours, where we can hold on a conversation for a couple minutes. Theirs, it's like, are we done talking? Can we do something else now? And then 30 seconds later, like, I want to do something else now. This is boring now, right? So we're working with students that are very, it's fun. It's very fun. It's very difficult, very draining, physically, mentally, it's exhausting. But when there's a student that comes in and you go, hey, give me a high five, and the student looks at you like, no. And then the mom goes, hey, no, actually, my kid doesn't high five. He doesn't do that. And I go, okay, we'll see how that goes at the end of class. So then that becomes a personal challenge for myself to be so uh, comforting with this student that they can trust me to go ahead and give me a high five at the end of the class, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that
yeah,
makes total
yeah.
sense. So how long do these classes last then? They're like 25
So their
minutes?
classes are 30 minutes. We push 30-minute marks as much as we possibly can, because we lose most of our kids at that mark of between the 12 to 16-minute mark. We've lost them. They're like, oh, we're done. But we also want to give them the ability to have a longer attention span. So we're pushing them, we're bringing them back in, we're making it, more inviting, more. We're doing certain things that to entice them to continue going for that push, that extra push that they need, which is going to help out, throughout life, right?
Do you
Yeah. So yeah, most of our classes are 30 minutes long. We do have our students that are able to go ahead and bust out a full hour, which we do. We have longer classes as well. But yeah, but the majority of our students are a 30-minute session in a very small group class, which they get to enjoy. They actually get a lot more from us as instructors, right? Because think about this, you get a room of 30 students to, let's say, 2 instructors in your traditional karate studio, maybe 3. You got a ratio of 1. Let's say it's 30 students, 3 instructors, you got a ratio of 1 to 10. How much time does each student get from 3 different instructors when there's 30 other students, right? So you do the math there. Now you come to what our studio or what we designed was, you have a group of 3, maybe 5. You get 1 instructor, a 1-to-5 ratio max for that 30-minute. They get so much more than where a traditional karate studio would give, for those 30 students. Right? So yeah, and again, 5 is like pushing it. Once we have 6 students in the class, there's 2 instructors immediately. Now,
So
we have to do it that way.
how many well, when you first started, I imagine it was pretty much just you teaching the classes. How long into it where you said, you know what, I need to hire some people?
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh. Quickly, I don't remember, but I think we were at about 50 students. So we got keys in July. We started teaching in September, and I think we were probably around that 50 mark. Um, yeah, around that 50 mark, maybe a little less. But at that point, I brought on my godson to help me start teaching, and my godson's been working with me since he was 4 years old and training as well. And then he's no, how old is he? He's 21, 20. So he's about 19 or 20 years old when I brought him on, to start teaching. And he's been amazing, so I brought him on, and then not that long after, I also brought my sister in because we continued to grow so fast, throughout. So September, so now we're talking September, now we're back to November, and actually last September, which was a year into our teaching, we actually hit our max capacity at our studio, which was amazing. That's both my sister, my godson, myself, um, the team of there, teaching and running that studio, along with my wife, who handles a lot of the emails and calls and stuff like that. But yeah, yeah.
So what's next for Angel?
Oh, I think right now, to keep pushing this studio, but we have a wait list of students that are waiting literally for an open spot at our studio to be able to come join. Because again, we're not a traditional karate studio that we can't take 2, 3, 400 kids at a time, at least not yet, right? Not yet. Um, I'm hoping that in the near future, when I'm able to get more instructors in and a little larger studio, so I can provide the same service that I'm providing now to our families, that'd be great. So I think that's what's next, is just we're gonna keep pushing, we're gonna keep growing, learning, and making a little dent in that community that absolutely needs it, right? I mean, you and I are vulnerable. That community is even more so, I would say, right? Of being in a wheelchair, or just being that the student with autism that thinks everybody's their friend, and things that nobody can do anyone wrong ever. So I think that's what's next, is we keep working, we keep pushing, um, growing our studio in a way where we can continue providing that great service that we currently are, without sacrificing just without sacrificing, period, just making sure that everybody stays happy and everyone's actually learning and growing.
And if parents or students are listening to this podcast, how can they get in touch with you to get involved with your studio?
They can check out our website at mixedmiracle.com. They can go on our Instagram or Facebook. Think on our website right now, you cannot physically make an appointment like you were used to, like a few months ago. But you are able to get on our wait list, and you can reach out that way. You can always text, email us to reach out. But yeah, a huge thanks to every single parent out there that is already currently on that wait list. I hope to be able to get to you as soon as possible. Just be patient with us. We are running this is literally a new business. We're a little over a year old, just a little over a year old, and it's a family owned thing, so it's not like we have uh all these funds available to us to where we can hire as much help as we possibly want. But then I'm also, we're expecting our third little girl, which that's not even Facebook official yet. We haven't even told people on Facebook, right? So we haven't made that official. But yeah, we've got another one on the way. So I got an almost 4-year-old, an almost 2-year-old, and another one on the way. So
Breaking
being a
news on
dad,
it's a Long Beach Thing podcast, huh?
yeah. There you go. You heard it here first. So I'm just, being a dad, being a husband, being a brother, being I guess a boss, which I don't necessarily like the term myself. I never think of myself as the boss, more so of I'll work with you instead of you working with me. But yeah, just doing all that has been really fun, really exhausting too, though. So if you're out there and you're listening and you've been trying to reach me, just be patient. I'll get to you guys, I promise.
Right on. Well, this has been awesome. But before I let you go, I got to ask you this question. Where are your
Yeah.
favorite places to eat in Long Beach?
Oh man, you hit me right. Oh gosh, I love food. Oh, you know what? It's been recently I've had just a lot of Ola Mexican Kitchen at Second and PCH. Their pozole there is delicious. It's like one of those pozoles that you can even have during the summer, and that's not okay. You should not be having hot soups during the summer, but that's a place where that pozole does not. I don't mind it there during the summer, so I like that food there. Um, you'll find me at the Crooked Duck down in Long Beach as well, off PCH and Clark, I think it is. Crooked Duck, Joey there is amazing. He's good stuff. He's got a great team there for breakfast and lunch. But yeah, and then you could also find me at my mom's house. I'm there a lot eating. I'm eating there a lot, very often. I enjoy my mom's cooking.
Mom's house? Where's that?
Yeah, no, that's gonna be. You text me if you want to come to
Oh,
find me at
okay.
mom's house.
Okay.
Literally at my mom's house.
Oh, your mom's house. Oh,
Yeah,
your
at my
mom's,
mom's
your
house.
mom's.
Yes,
Oh,
yes, yes.
oh,
But yeah,
physically.
but
Oh, I
yeah,
thought it was a spot
no
called
place.
Mom's house.
No.
Mom's house.
Yeah. No, sorry. Yeah. Hola Mexican Kitchen. You'll find me there. You'll find me at the Crooked Duck. And if I'm not there eating, I'm probably at my own mother's house getting some grub going.
Right on, Angel. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you want to leave our audience with before you go?
No, I just, thank you guys. Thank you, Paul, for having me on. Thank you everybody for listening in and whatnot. If you guys can, share my story, that'd be great. The more, the more it's out there, the more I'm able to help out. I found this little thing. I love teaching, first of all, and then two, it's very, very rewarding to be able to see a student come in that was not able to do karate at a different place, and or that was even turned away for whatever reason, and has been told that they can't train there, and be super happy training with us, right? So yeah, if anyone is out there that wants to share and help out in any way, shape, or form, I'm available for that. But yeah. So thank you, Long Beach. Thank you, everybody here in Long Beach. Thanks everybody. Thanks to all my extended family, which is my students. Thank you for your continued support, and yeah, pretty much it, sir.
Very good, Angel. And I got to tell you, you're only 33 years old. You talk like you're a wise man. Definitely, you don't look. I was going to say that you look, or you don't look like you're in your 50s. Definitely look your age, but your wisdom seems of a person well older than 33 years old, my friend.
Well,
So I'm very,
I,
very glad that I got you on the podcast where you could share your wisdom with all of us here.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, I appreciate the kind words. I don't know how wise I can be, but I do my best. So yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. It's been a Long Beach thing.